Okay, so today I'm building a frame for an old sink. So I found this old sink in my parents' yard / field. I'm sure they don't mind if I'm using it. If they do, sorry, but thanks for the sink. Anyway, I'm just using some scrap boards because this is just a temporary sink for the basement, and just getting things measured out so I know how to build this frame around the top. Okay, so here I'm cutting the legs to length, and I'm using this 1.1/8" material. It's just leftover that I have from ripping down a door jamb. It'll do just fine. This whole build is going to be kind of flimsy until I get the last shim on, because I really am going bare bones with materials here, just literally the scraps that I have left from some projects. So that's kind of fun. I like doing builds, especially when it's going to be just temporary and just a fun build. Also, I was wondering why the bottoms of my legs were not square cuts, and now I'm realizing why, because I see that I've got a little piece of something stuck in the track of my miter saw there. But yeah, I don't ever remember getting that out, so maybe everything is out of square. I don't know. So here's the top frame that I'm using. Again, it's just 1.5" square material. I'm going to be countersinking and screwing this thing together, and from there I will mount the legs directly on the bottom. So I'm really trying to use the least amount of material here. That way I can get it done with all of the scraps that I have. So I think I had 2 rips of that trim, and then I had a couple short 2x4s, and that's going to be what I'm using for this entire project. So get these last couple screws in, and after that it'll be ready to start putting these legs on. That 1.1/8" material I was talking about that I cut for the leg length, I just put some pocket holes on one side, and I'm going to be screwing that directly to this frame. Again, that keeps me from having to put a frame rail on top to screw to, so it's going to be flimsy, like I said, to start, because these things are just going to be holding in there with one screw. But as I go and put more of the brace pieces on, it's going to, make this thing a lot more solid and plenty sturdy for what we're going to need it for. Also, I've got some marks here where I'm sticking these legs, and the reason I'm setting it back from the edge a little bit is just to give this this screw a little bit more material to fasten into. Otherwise, it's going to split out the side of that 2x4 frame. Here I am measuring and cutting some pieces the same distance from the base of these legs. That way I can make sure that these legs are running plumb once this thing is sitting upright. So I'll get these fastened. Same thing, I'm using just one screw here in each side because this material is so thin, and also placing it more in the center of this material. That way I'm not worrying about splitting anything out or messing up these legs that I've already got in place. So here again, measuring out the base. It's a little bit different than the other measurement. So cut these boards to length, and yeah, same thing for this side. Just got one screw in each, and it's already making this thing a good bit more solid, putting these bottom brace pieces on. So after I get this done, I'll get this thing set up on its end, and you see back on the top of that box there, I've got just some scraps from ripped 2x4s. They're about 1/4 inch thick, and that's what I'll be using to brace this whole thing off. So here, like I said, I've got these rips. I'm needing about 32 inches to get my diagonal cut. So I'm going to go cut a few of these pieces down. I think I'm going to cut in 6 total, down to this 32-inch mark, and then I'll get them back, and I'm just going to brad nail these things, or just use this little trim nailer to get my square. So here I'm just measuring from corner to corner, making sure that this thing is sitting as square as possible, putting a couple tacks in it, and I'm going to do this all the way around the whole frame. That way it gets it sitting nice and level. Even though my floor is probably not level, I was going to just make it to where it could sit on the floor where it's going to be in place and not wobble. But I decided to just make this thing square, and I can shim up the legs if I need to with something later. So As I'm putting these pieces on, it's already making it quite a bit more stiff. This material is super thin, so when I'm nailing this thin material into the wood, I'm making sure that I'm nailing at a couple different angles. That way it's keeping it from pulling out, because I'm not using any glue or anything like that. So kind of nailing one down at an angle and nailing one up at an angle. But yeah, once I get this square on this side, I'll be able to put the cross on both and then move on to the other side. I'm gonna leave one of these sides completely open, so no cross pieces, because that's where my plumbing is gonna run through. So I didn't want to have to be running into my braces while I was trying to cut and place that plumbing for my drain. So I think this will make it easier, and I might be able to throw some braces on after the fact. But here it is, the pretty much finished project. It's sitting in there nice, everything is level, and it's actually pretty sturdy for the flimsy materials that I used. Here's this side, it's opened up, that's where the plumbing is gonna run through. And there you can see it is in place. The drain is hooked up, water hooked up, and we've got a sink in the basement. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.